Okay, I want to show you how Flash is kind of set up. It's very similar to other programs we've been using, but there are a few differences. So I'm going to go to File, New, just so you can see what a new document looks like. Again, this is inside of Adobe Flash CC. I'm going to choose the HTML5 canvas. There are other options as well. ActionScript if you wanted to do some scripting for games. HTML5 allows other sorts of interactivity like it says down here. The width is set to 550 by 400. That's the default. I'm going to leave it at that for our purposes, but just keep in mind that, again, just like in Photoshop, if I'm designing something specific, then I want to make sure that I change this to whatever it is that I'm designing. So if I'm wanting to put this up on YouTube, well, this isn't a very high quality. So I would want to make sure that I set this to 1920 by 1080 or 1280 by 720 or something like that. And then you have a frame rate here because now we're dealing with animation. So this is basically saying how many pictures per second. So this is saying 24 pictures per second, which is pretty standard. 24 and 30 are pretty standard. Sometimes in animation you'll go down even to 12. But anyways, that's some options there. You also have some template options. If you click through here, you can see there are some samples available to you. And I'll just open up one of the sample animations just so you can kind of get an idea of what this would look like. Now, when you first open this up, let me actually reset this. You're going to notice that your tools are over on the right-hand side. I like my tools on the left-hand side because that's how it is in all the other programs. So I'm going to just put them over on the left, and that way I've got my tools just like Photoshop and the other programs. Then you have a canvas. This is where you do all of your drawing and designing and that sort of thing. We have what's called a timeline. This is where we have multiple layers. As you'll notice as I click through, this particular graphic has got different layers. This particular animation has got different layers. So, and it's showing you a little bit of an animation. Then we have our properties window or palette and our library as well. There are other palettes available to us. We'll get more into those later. This is a brief rundown, though, of kind of what Flash looks like. Again, it should be something fairly familiar. Now, down here in the timeline, I just want to make sure that we understand that you can see here there's numbers 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, etc. Well, because we have it set to 24 frames per second, that's what FPS is. When I get to 24, that means this has been 1 full second. So I could change this to 30 or whatever, and that would change my animation, but just know that this is kind of that's kind of how it works. This is 1 full second. So that's our timeline, our tools. This is our canvas area. Then we have some other tools and palettes available over here. So that's the brief rundown of how Flash is. Again, should be somewhat familiar to you, and we'll go into some more details a little bit later.